Now this, folks, is pretty cool. We are in SDL moving around here in this 3D world here with the new SDL graphics API and just checking out one of the code samples here. We've got all the source code here. And again, this is really cool. It's running in our browser. So we definitely have to check this out. So hey, what's going on, folks? It's Mike here, and as you know, I am looking at SDL, and I want to welcome you to my SDL3 series. If you've been part of this YouTube channel for a while, you know I have a bunch of videos on SDL2, and those are going to be great videos. You can visit those, and most of them are going to be compatible with SDL3, but there have been some changes. So we want to start from afresh and do SDL3 programming here, starting with what is the SDL library, how to set it up, install it from source code or using package managers, and then we'll get into different tutorials showing you how to use the SDL3 library. So let's go ahead and start from the beginning here. Let's go ahead back to the website here at the SDL, libsdl.org here and learn a little bit about SDL. Now, why SDL here? Well, as you can tell, this is a library that's going to help you build games and multimedia applications. It's a simple, direct media layer, SDL. It's been around for quite some time, multiple decades at this point, and used in the game industry from SDL version 1, 2, and 3. And ultimately, the problem that it solves is it lets you do things like access your keyboard, mouse, joystick, and various graphics APIs, or you can just use the built-in graphics APIs on several different platforms. So with that said, you have the ability, to use Windows, Mac, Linux, iOS, Android. I've seen SDL on various game consoles. It's just used everywhere. This is a great framework for you to learn, use, and work with. And again, as mentioned, it's been around for decades, so the support is very good. Commercial companies use this, contribute to it. Valve being a large contributor, and many other open source programmers. And again, if you have a language that can talk to C, you can use SDL. So in this series, we're going to focus on using C-like languages. Again, I'm going to start this series off with C, and then I'll show how to talk to different languages. So if you want to follow along in D-Lang, like I use a lot in this series, or maybe you just want to use C++, which talks with C, so no problem there. But maybe you want to use Zig or Go or Rust or whatever the next language is going to be. Basically, as long as it can talk to C, you are okay. You can follow along in this series, and that is the goal. So with that said, I'm very excited about working with SDL here. And again, you can just kind of refresh the page for some inspiration to see some of the different projects that have been built using SDL as a windowing library. It comes with a fundamental graphics 2D library that you can use, and a 3D library with SDL3, which I'm excited to get into in this series. So anyways, let's just go ahead and look at some of the examples to get inspired here. And I'm going to go to the wiki here. And again, it's going to mention that you should go to the SDL3 page here. So if you see SDL2 anywhere, just change that to a 3. That's effectively what it's doing here. And again, we have this announcement here that, well, basically a week or two since you're seeing this video here, SDL3 has been officially released, meaning that the API is not going to change. They might fix some bugs and add more features, but we can start learning SDL3 here. So again, we already know what it is from the website here, but I think it'll be useful to see some of the features here and just take a quick look at some of those examples here like I was running. So if you scroll down to the bottom, there are some full game demos that you can check out here. But again, you can see some of the things that we have available. So asynchronous AI on multiple platforms, working with different devices like pens, webcam, which is super cool here. We've got audio, recording, playing back files, working with various input devices here. We even get debug text, which is just kind of a nice one if you want to print out some text here. And then we've got the other stuff like working with 2D graphics and so on. Let's just go to this viewport one and see what's going on here. So again, you can see some different examples for creating windows here. We've got different ways to create geometry and move things around here. And then you can of course peek through the source code here. So really a lot of nice effort here in the documentation online here. With these web samples here, which again, a focus on, compiling things to the web is super useful here. So let's go back here to some of the features here. And again, you can see they put a lot of effort into the documentation. We're going to do our effort showing you in this series how to read some of that documentation here. Some new stuff that's kind of exciting here, like the GPU API here. You can go ahead and take a look here. And again, if you don't want to learn OpenGL, Metal, Vulkan, all that sort of stuff here, they've got sort of a lightweight framework here to do GPU programming. So at some point, we're going to want to take a look at that in this series once we get rolling here. Let's take a look at some of the other features here. They've got stuff for working with file systems and storage, camera as mentioned, pen, different audio devices here, async I/O, a process API. So all this kind of cool stuff, color spaces, working with high-end displays, high resolution displays, better keyboard support. All of this is, kind of the fundamental stuff that you just want to have available with various function calls and not having to learn different operating systems like Windows, Linux, Mac versions of all of these functions here. So again, a lot of time and effort's been put into this stuff. It's a nice C library, and that's what we're going to learn here in this series. So let's go ahead and just explore a little bit more. Again, there's going to be a lot of different tutorials and so on, and I think this wiki is going to keep getting updated slowly or quickly, I should rather say, as more tutorials are being added here. Again, you can go ahead and get the stable version right now if you want, but otherwise stay tuned on this series, stay subscribed otherwise, and we'll be showing you how to set this up from source, from the binary files, and a few different ways. That's what's coming up in the next few videos here. And as always, I'm going to be posting all of my SDL3 tutorials on my website, courses.msha.io, the same ones that you're watching on YouTube. But if you want to follow along and track your progress in a distraction-free environment so you can consume more of the videos, feel free to do that. All right, folks, I'm excited to get into SDL. I can't wait to do some more graphics programming and game development stuff with you. And again, just show you how to get things set up, and then you can be off to the races and build something really, really cool. So with that said, let me know in the comments your excitement about this series, things that you definitely want to see. And otherwise, I'll look forward to seeing you in some future lessons in the SDL3 series.